Thailand has a rich and vast culture that can be greatly attributed to the introduction of Buddhism by King Ashoka and the Third Buddhist Council in 250 BC. This council was held to standardize Buddhist doctrine and make them as accurate to the Buddhist teaching as possible. Following the Third Buddhist Council was a large missionary movement throughout all of Southeast Asia. Of these nations, the monks Prat Sona and Prat Uttara were the first to reach Thailand, marking the beginnings of Buddhism. From the time Buddhism was brought to Thailand to this day, it has constantly gained in popularity. As of 2001, there are roughly 250,000 Buddhist monks that inhabit Thailand. These monks who live a monastic life wake up around 4 to 5:30 in the morning and begin chanting, meditating, or studying. They are allowed to eat 2 meals a day, and in the times between eating and sleeping, they may resume chanting, meditating, or studying. Buddhism has become such a rich part of Thai lay life that it has been incorporated as a rite of passage. This rite of passage is for young men to become ordained as monks, called novices. They spend a few weeks to months in a monastery as a sign of respect to their parents as well as a way to gain marriage. After those few weeks to months, the novices will re-enter society as a layperson, enriched by his experiences in monastic life. But Buddhism does not exist only on the level of the individual, but also on the national level. Important events on the Thai calendar are Visakha Puja, Makha Puja, and Asalaha Puja, which celebrate the birth and enlightenment of the Buddha, the spontaneous congregation of 1,250 arhats, and the first sermon given by the Buddha. These few examples of rites and events demonstrate the interactions of Buddhism and Thai society. With daily contact, Buddhism finds itself heavily influenced by social and political factors in Thailand, which in some cases can have negative consequences. These effects can be seen in the modern Dhammayut, Udon, and Dharmakaya sects. But before any of these sects of Buddhism existed in Thailand, the country experienced numerous changes through the migrations, along with the rise and declines of many empires, all of which greatly affected Buddhist ideals. These changes began ever since the missionary efforts that initially introduced Buddhism and lasted until around the 18th century AD. By 1782, the Ratanakosin Kingdom began, which is the current ruling kingdom of Thailand. During this empire, there was an important king that greatly influenced Thai Buddhism. He was King Mangkut, and before becoming king, he educated himself in the Buddhist scriptures and the Tripitaka. He was a prince of Thailand as well as an educated monk. During his Buddhist studies, Mangkut believed to have discovered misrepresentation of the Buddha's teachings and sought to change such practices. In 1829, Mangkut succeeded in changing these practices and created the Dhammayut Nikaya, or translated as the adhering to the Dharma sect, which separated itself from the Maha Nikaya, the greater sect, or known as the older and more widely practiced sect. The Dhammayut Nikaya and the Maha Nikaya had differences in practice, but due to the social and political aspects, there developed a larger divergence. These discrepancies in practice included new style of wearing robes, new ordination ritual, new pronunciation of scriptures, new routine, and new religious days observed. Although it did not radically change Buddhist ways, these practices still opposed the dominant sect. But because the Dhammayut Nikaya had royal origins, opposition could not be openly voiced. However, if it had, the sect may have been rejected early on. As Mangkut became King Rama IV, the Dhammayut sect paralleled his achievements. Even after obtaining his new status, Mangkut continued to endorse the Dhammayut Nikaya, strongly encouraging the study and practice of Buddhism. Through favoring the Dhammayut more than others, King Mangkut made the sect become greater than it could have alone. Other factors that further distanced the Dhammayut sect developed from the adoption of Mangkut's ideals on religion. He believed that folktales and mystical beings did not belong in Buddhism. His reasoning was that religion should be more about beliefs and ideals than a fantasy, which can be attributed to Western thoughts of religion brought over by Christian missionaries. King Mangkut's religious influence grew as he gained political control, and after his death, the Dhammayut sect still maintains its acceptance and importance in Thai Buddhism. The survival and continued growth of the Dhammayut sect can be accredited to the following ruler of the Ratanakosin Empire, King Chulalongkorn, who, like his father King Mangkut, was also a supporter of Buddhism. During his reign as king, Chulalongkorn developed the position of Supreme Patriarch for the Sangha as a means to unify Buddhist traditions in Thailand. This unification was forced through the creation of the Sangha Act in 1902. The new role of the Supreme Patriarch made from this act was filled by Chulalongkorn's half-brother, also the son of King Mangkut, Prince Wachirian, advocate of the Dhammayut sect. By having King Mangkut's son in the top positions of the newly developed Buddhist hierarchy, the Dhammayut sect became more closely tied to the government and even more influential than in Mangkut's time. The close ties to high positions the Dhammayut practitioners held developed problems between the Dhammayut Nikaya and the Maha Nikaya. These problems mainly consisted of the perception that the Dhammayut monks ruled over the Maha Nikaya monks. Tensions only settled a bit when the Sangha Act of 1941 was passed. The purpose of this act was to transfer administrative powers to the Maha Nikaya and also to unify the two sects. Although there was some transfer of power, unifying the two sects proved more difficult. The Thudong order, located in the northeastern parts of Thailand, was unlike the Dhammayut sect with regards to their background. These monks can be seen as early as the Sukhothai kingdom around the 12th century AD. Monks that led the Thudong austere lifestyle were commonly put into dangerous positions and found themselves faced with numerous difficulties. The cause of these hardships is due to the rules that they abided by. One precept they followed only allowed a meal a day. This proved to be a challenge for many, since another rule stated that they can only eat before noon. As a consequence, some monks had to turn down food offered in the afternoon, even if they had not eaten all day. Another hardship faced by Thudong monks on the road to enlightenment was that they lived either in the forest or cemeteries. This lifestyle attempts to be the most traditional of Thai Buddhist sects, adhering closely to the Buddha's life and teaching. The Thudong practice was relatively unhindered by government officials, laws, and social influence due to the lack of accessibility provided by the thick forests of Thailand. It was around 1957 that the Thudong monks finally felt the political and social effects from the Sangha and worldly events. The Dhammayut Nikaya, who were in charge of the Thailand Sangha, had feelings of resentment towards the Thudong monks. They saw them as outlaws or lazy since they did not teach or work for a monastery. This is because even after the 1902 Sangha Act, which meant for all Buddhist practitioners to adhere to the same standards and principles, the Thudong monks still practiced their own tradition. When their movements against Communist Party members by military officials, the forest monks were persecuted because they were seen as outlaws by the Sangha. Government officials accepted the Sangha Patriarch's view of the forest monks because there had been strong ties to the government ever since the days of King Mangkut. This oppression severely obstructed many Thudong monks because they feared of being arrested or punished for practicing their traditions, and as a result, many monks stopped wandering through forests and towns. Some even became comfortable in a monastic life and abandoned the Thudong tradition. Eventually, the communist hysteria would die out, and the Thudong monks no longer persecuted. But another negative pressure would soon pose an equal, if not greater, threat to the Thudong monks. After 1964, when the Vietnam War was at its peak, the U.S. government endorsed Thailand to develop the nation. As with any developmental period, the nation must undergo large amounts of construction, and as a means for this construction, deforestation must occur. By 1988, only 19% of Thailand was forest. To the Thudong monks, deforestation had devastating effects, since the forest to them was what a monastery meant to the Dhammayut Nikaya or Maha Nikaya. Because of the interactions between the Thudong traditions with social and political changes, Thailand is seeing diminishing numbers of forest monks. Thailand's modernization has varying effects on Buddhist sects, but is a reason for the popularity of Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya Order was founded by Prat Mongkol Tapumi in 1916 and focused on meditation as a means to attain enlightenment. This meditation tells to concentrate on breathing, recitation of mantras, and visualizing a crystal ball as a focal point. The emphasis on meditation was extremely popular and attracted many new members. One of Prat Mongkol Tapumi's disciples was Kun Yai, who after the death of her master in the 1970s founded Wat Prat Dhammakaya, which could accommodate all these new recruits. To maintain this large structure, the Dharmakaya sect has been known to employ a more capitalistic approach to Buddhism through its strategic fundraising techniques. This can be recognized as part of Western capitalistic influences that have reached Thailand by this time. Along with capitalistic influences, Thailand also adopted a Western lifestyle where career and money become valued over religious practice. The reason that the Dharmakaya Order gained in popularity is because they employed traditional superstitions that all Thais believe in, as well as modern corporate marketing strategies to grow in influence. The popularity the sect has received due to the social factors like modernization has been met with much criticism. One criticism is in the Dhamma Yu's modern adaptation of the way followers may obtain merit. There is an increased emphasis to donate money. Consequently, the more money donated, the more merit and therefore the better life one will have in the future. Although the idea that giving money to achieve a better afterlife is questionable in practice, this type of belief fits in perfectly with the busy lifestyle of the modern Thai community, since many middle-class people work in the mornings and cannot make the alms round. Another criticism is